Thank you very much. It's great to be here with Henrik, who I've had the pleasure of working with over the last several years, actually, to bring this project into reality. But let me tell you a little bit about VIA. But first, let's start from something that should be a little bit more familiar to everyone. So I think Berlin is officially recognized as the most trafficked city in Germany. I think Berliners spend about 150 hours a year sitting in traffic, and it's clear 100 years after the introduction of the private car, we are at peak car. We have a huge congestion issue, and cities are on the lookout for new mobility solutions. And why does this matter? So one way to describe why this is important is just to look at the size of the market, but I think this is actually reflective of how critical mobility is as the lifeblood of cities. And in fact, what we can see is, this is data from the Brookings Institute in the US, that public mobility, public transport, has a huge potential to actually solve our problems with congestion. But the problem is that it has to be very good in order to do so. The private car is unfortunately extremely convenient in the sense that it is parked in your driveway. But as public transport gets better and better, more convenient, a better offer, a better user experience, it can actually displace the private car. So VIA is building technology that hopes to address this exact problem, to attack the biggest piece of what we think the transport market is, which is public mobility, whereas a number of technology companies have tried to innovate very narrowly along the taxi space. And how do we do this? We make it extremely easy to use your phone to book a seat in a shared vehicle, an on-demand bus, where you will share your ride with other people, multiple people, 4, 5, 6, heading in the same direction as you, get picked up and dropped off at virtual bus stops, not at your door. So taking the public transport experience and innovating, evolving it to be powered by technology. And we're doing this all over the world with dozens of cities. We operate consumer cities in 7 major markets around the world, but the vast majority of our activity is focused around working directly with cities to enable these sorts of solutions everywhere from Singapore to Los Angeles and, of course, to Berlin.
So and here comes in Berlin. If you're from Berlin, you will know BVG. If you're not from Berlin, BVG is all about buses, trams, and underground lines. We have 1.1 billion customers each year. Every day there are 4 million people using public transit in Berlin. And this is usually not the company that would do anything very fast, because we're a publicly owned company. We have lots of German engineering. We want to do stuff 110% perfect. And if you want to do this, you usually move slowly. However, we started in 2016 a new campaign which started in the transformation of the company. We went out and said, Berlin, we love you. And Berlin said, we don't love you because you're not in time, you're not punctual. And we said, look, it's a 90-year-old marriage. We truly love you and we try our best. We fail sometimes and we're not always perfect, but that's how it is in a marriage. And we've been able to pull this off. This has been going on now for 3 years. It started with this guy dancing through our underground trains. And I think it culminated last year. Our brand now is so strong that Adidas decided they want to do an Adidas sneaker. There were 1,000 Adidas sneakers out last year. You had to wait in line for 3 days to get some. I got some. And with this brand now, we said we can change mobility for the better in Berlin. We have come up with a strategy which says, of course, in our heart, we have to take care of the tram, the underground, and the bus system. And there's lots of stuff happening there. We're just buying new trains for 3 billion euro. We're changing our buses to electric buses. But on the next rim, we said we have to develop new services for our customers. And we have to try what does ride-sharing mean for a public transit company. And we also think we have to integrate these services. So we went out and looked for a partner that we can do ride-sharing with. Ride-sharing, in our opinion, is deep in our DNA because we are all about ride-sharing. Buses, trains, if you don't share those rides, something is going wrong. So we went out and found VIA, and we said, let's do a cooperation. Let's try to prove in Berlin that we can do this together as part of public transit. Maybe you want to highlight the cooperation a little bit.
Yeah, and I think, Not to get into semantics, but there are many words used to describe, generally speaking, what we do, and ride sharing is one of them. Ride pooling is one that's quite popular. We like to think of what we're doing actually as a form of on-demand and dynamic public transit. And doing something like this in Germany in general, in Berlin, is quite complex. And so we came up with a way to cooperate in a very effective way that utilized the strength of both companies. We provided the technology, the on-demand technology that would power the service, as well as the operations, drivers, vehicles, customer service, and a very strong data science and operations expertise.
And we pulled together our marketing team and said we want to build a new brand that is very well known. We want to take care of the licensing process, which is a mess, really. It took a pregnancy of an elephant to get this thing done. It took us 2 years to get the license eventually. But it worked out, and VIA was by our side all this time. It took a long time for a startup. When we talked, you said 3 months is a long time for a startup. 2 years is incredibly long, where we stayed together. And we were on the road in September last year with our vehicles that looked like this, of course, in BVG branding, with a common goal.
Which is to not just launch a new innovative service, but actually to extend the existing public transport mode by creating a new fourth pillar, if you will, of the public transport system, and over time to reduce the need for private vehicle trips.
And this is the basic service idea here. We have a 58 square kilometer service area, which is in the inner city. So if you want to go to the hotel tonight, don't use a taxi, use Bergkönig. Download the app. We have a network of virtual bus stops, which is more than 5,000 bus stops in the inner city. We have also a solution for unbanked and non-smartphone customers, which doesn't make much sense, but if you're a public company, you have to take care of that. And this is integrated into public transit. We have a very easy to use app, which is supplied by VIA. And we have electric vehicles. 50% of the fleet is electric. We're not quite at 100%, but electric vehicles still have some problems in the operations. They don't last too long. And we have a handicapped offering. We, for the first time in Berlin, have an on-demand handicapped taxi, where with little waiting time, as a handicapped person, you can go from A to B. And we have a crowd of handicapped people going through the city with us that are really enthusiastic about this service. And this is our success. After only 9 months, we are standing here. We have 1 out of 6 residents that have downloaded the app. We have more than 500,000 completed rides. Actually, the last number is 650,000 rides in only 9 months. 75% of those rides are shared. And we have 185 private vehicle trips replaced. And many people are very happy with the app. And maybe the last number I leave to you.
Sure, which is, for those of us who follow NPS of our own apps, 78 NPS, which is, I think, higher than Apple, actually. So we're very proud of the service that we're delivering together in Berlin. So maybe just a second, I'll tell you a few things about what we're doing beyond Berlin. One is working with the City of London, with TfL, to deliver their first on-demand bus service. We just launched this in a borough of Sutton, which is in the outer parts of London, to again make an on-demand extension to the public transport system there. And actually we're working with cities all over the world, whether it's in Arlington, Texas, the largest city in America with no public transport system before VIA, or West Sacramento, or Los Angeles, where we're working with LA Metro, and in Seattle, where we're working with King County. Just a small selection. And the bottom line is that what we're doing here in Berlin is just one example, and a very important one. And I think actually today maybe it's worth mentioning that we've been recognized internationally for the work that we're doing. I don't know if you want to say a word about our award.
Yeah, just yesterday we were at the biannual conference of the Worldwide Confederation of Public Transit Companies, and we got the first prize for our Bergkönig project as the main innovation project. We led Moscow, Los Angeles, and many other important cities which had a very strong infrastructure plan behind us, and Bergkönig got the first prize here.
So, I think that as a parting message, if we're trying to solve the problem of having too many cars on the road, you need to give people a very compelling alternative. And the only way to do that in a way that is sustainable is to not only enlarge, but also to expand our conception of what public transport can be. And that's really what we're trying to do here in Berlin, is to expand the market for public transport by also expanding our conception of what public transportation can be and can achieve.
And this has been a fantastic cooperation, and it's time to thank you and to tell everybody of you, download the app, go with Bergkönig, try it out, and become a fan of Bergkönig tonight when you go to your hotel or have drinks or whatever. Bergkönig in iOS and Android stores. Chris, thanks.
Thanks.